Scuba Diving 101 reasonably relied upon by experts in diving medicine?
Yes, it is.
And are the methods and principles that you used in coming to your conclusions also reasonably relied upon by other experts in diving medicine?
Of course.
Doctor, based on your analysis, what did you conclude?
It is my conclusion that because of Mrs. Allen's hypertension, something that she was aware of, but Neptune was not, Mrs. Allen should not have participated in the July 7th dive to the Hepburn.
Before we talk about why Mrs. Allen shouldn't have participated on the Hepburn dive, can you explain to the jury what hypertension is?
Yes, of course. Hypertension is more commonly known as high blood pressure. Now, that's when the pressure in the arteries is elevated.
Your Honor, this testimony about hypertension is conditionally irrelevant under Rule 104. May I explain?
Conditionally irrelevant?
Yes, Your Honor. Now, while we concede that Miss Allen indeed had hypertension and was a scuba diver, the relevance of this testimony regarding hypertension is conditional upon linkage between hypertension and the actual events of July 7th, between hypertension and Miss Allen's actual death. Now, if I'm allowed to voir dire this witness, it will become apparent that we can't actually draw that link, that link upon which the relevance hinges is absent in this case.
All right. Mr. Hotz, I'll go over that.
Your Honor, this testimony is entirely relevant. It's relevant for the members of the jury to understand any conditions that Mrs. Allen had that she knew was dangerous before going on the Hepburn expedition, and how that condition might affect her ability to scuba dive. This goes to the heart of our case and our assumption of risk affirmative defense.
All right. Judge has overruled your request for voir dire seems to be not pertaining to extra qualifications, so save that for please.
Yes, sir.
Doctor, can you explain what hypertension is?
Yes, hypertension is more commonly known as high blood pressure. Now, that's when the pressure in the arteries is elevated. It causes the heart to work harder than normal so that it can circulate blood through the body.
Why is Mrs. Allen hypertension significant in this case?
You see, scuba diving with hypertension increases your risk of suffering from various scuba diving conditions, which can make scuba diving dangerous.
How do you know that Mrs. Allen had hypertension?
I reviewed her medical record, which indicated she suffered from stage 2 hypertension.
Let the record reflect on showing the opposing counsel was previously marked as Defense Exhibit 3 for identification purposes. Your Honor, may I approach the witness?
Yes.
Would Your Honor like a courtesy copy?
Thank you.
Doctor, I'm not handing you what's marked as Defense Exhibit 3 for identification purposes. Do you recognize it?
Yes, I do.
What is it?
This is Lee Allen's medical record that I reviewed for today.
Your Honor, the defense offers into evidence what has been previously marked as Defense Exhibit 3 with the identification mark stricken from the record. Pursuant to Stipulation 2, all objections have been waived.
All right. Any disagreement?
That's correct, Your Honor. All objections are waived.
Defense 3 is admitted.
Now, Doctor, you said that hypertension can increase the risk to scuba diving. Is there any indication in this medical record that Mrs. Allen was aware of that risk?
Yes, Dr. Bernhardt, her physician, wrote, I told Lee that scuba diving may carry additional risks for someone with stage 2 hypertension, a conversation Lee and I had before.
Doctor, if scuba diving with hypertension is more dangerous, does that mean that a person with hypertension should never scuba dive?
No, not at all. In fact, Mrs. Allen had been on 30 scuba dives after she'd been diagnosed with hypertension, and her medication was helping to keep this disorder at bay.
Well, if that's the case, Doctor, why do you say that Mrs. Allen shouldn't have dove to the Hepburn because of her hypertension?
The Hepburn was unlike anything that Mrs. Allen had ever experienced before.
How so?
When I reviewed her dive log, I noticed that Miss Allen had never been below 80 feet before going on the Hepburn expedition. The dive to the Hepburn was 170 feet deep. That's over twice what she'd ever experienced before.
Why is that significant?
You see, the deeper that a diver goes, the stronger of an effect that hypertension will have on the body. Diving 170 feet would have exacerbated Miss Allen's hypertension in ways that made scuba diving much more dangerous than it had been before.
And Doctor, you said that diving with hypertension increases a diver's risk of suffering from certain scuba diving conditions. Was there any evidence that Mrs. Allen suffered from any scuba diving conditions on July 7th, 2011?
Yes, Mrs. Allen suffered from nitrogen narcosis.
What exactly is nitrogen narcosis?
Nitrogen narcosis is a deep-sea diving condition that occurs when there's an excess absorption of nitrogen into the bloodstream.
What are the effects of nitrogen narcosis?
The effects may vary, but most commonly, people can become dizzy, confused, have impaired motor skills, even hallucinate. Their symptoms of nitrogen narcosis are most similar to that of alcohol intoxication.
Doctor, is there any relationship between the depth of a dive and the effects of nitrogen narcosis?
Yes, there's actually something called Martini's Law, a conversion that states every 33 feet a diver descends is equivalent to the effects of one alcoholic beverage.
Can hypertension increase those effects?
Yes, it can up to double someone's effects. Now, in this case, there was never an autopsy performed on Miss Sallin, so I cannot properly conclude how much her hypertension affected her symptoms of nitrogen narcosis.
Doctor, when you reviewed Mrs. Allen's medical record, did a physician say whether she was fit to dive to the Hepburn?
No, just the opposite. Dr. Bernhardt stated that she was not qualified to make that assessment. Dr. Bernhardt was just a general practitioner, not specialized in diving medicine nor in pulmonary medicine.
Was there any evidence that Mrs. Allen ever saw a specialist?
No, there's no indication she saw a specialist.
Was there any indication that Mrs. Allen did anything to safeguard against the risks of diving with hypertension?
No, not only did Miss Allen not see a specialist, she also didn't try to gradually progress her way to a depth of 170 feet by going on deeper and deeper dives until she was acclimated to that depth.
And to your knowledge, did Mrs. Allen ever tell anyone from Neptune she suffered from this condition?
No.
No further questions.